2 p.m. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Wu,
Here.
Vice Mayor Menchaca,
Here.
Councilmember Chan,
Here.
Councilmember Ding,
Here.
Councilmember Harrington.
Here.
We will now have some announcements from our Assistant City Clerk.
Tonight's meeting is live streamed on Cable Channel 3 and our online platforms. If you wish to address the City Council, we request that you please complete a speaker's request card and hand it to the clerk. If you wish to be added to the distribution list to receive City Council agendas, please email your request to cityclerk@sgch.org.
First item, please.
Our first item is public comment. This is a time set aside for members of the public to address the City Council on items on this agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. When speaking, please state your name for the record.
Do we have any?
Mayor, we have not received any requests to speak.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 2, interviews and appointments to the Civil Service, Community Services, Design Review, Historic Preservation and Cultural Resource, and Planning Commissions. Applicants will be considered to fill 3 expiring seats on the Civil Service Commission, 2 expiring seats on the Community Services Commission, 2 expiring seats on the Design Review Commission, 2 expiring seats on the Historic Preservation and Cultural Resource Commission, and 3 expiring seats on the Planning Commission. Interviews will be conducted only for the commissions that have more applicants than seats available. Applicants from the Design Review Commission and the Planning Commission have been invited to be interviewed today. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members, you will have 15 minutes to interview each candidate. The timer will be set when the orange light lights up. It will indicate when the applicant has 5 minutes remaining. At the conclusion of the interviews, the council will vote by a ballot to appoint the applicants to the seats that are available. We will begin interviews with the applicants for the Design Review Commission.
Thank you. So before we start with the interview, Community Development Director Aldo Cervantes has something to announce.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor and Council, I'd like to suggest that for the interviewees for tonight, we ask each question number 10, given that we have a Civil Service Commissioner who's also applied for, or has applied for the Planning Commission. This is in case we may need to go back and fill that position in case George Carney is appointed to the Planning Commission. We can then always have information at our hands to appoint another member to that vacancy if that were to occur.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Mayor, our city attorney, Martin, did you want to explain the situation why you can't have one person serving 2 commissions and about our code?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor, council members. Staff has reviewed the code and searched for any adopted resolutions, any type of written indication of the existence of some written policy that would preclude a member serving on 2 commissions. We have not found any. However, historically speaking, and based on a statement that is on the website, advising the candidates that they can only serve on 1 commission, I will assume that it is the council's preference. It simply documents the council's preference that we have a variety of members of the community serving on all the commissions, and this way everybody has a chance to proceed.
So basically, it's one person can serve only 1 seat, 1 commission, right? Okay, great. So yes, clerk, let's proceed.
Our first interview is with Guillermo Lopez, applicant for the Civil Service Commission. Oh, sorry, the Design Review Commission.
That's correct? Okay. So she's... Got it.
Mayor, looks like the applicant has not arrived.
Is not right? Okay. So let's go for the next one.
Our next interview is with Nicorn Salo, applicant for the Design Review Commission.
These are reviews. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for willing to serve our community. So that, who would like to start? How about lady first? So Vice Mayor, would you like to start? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I saw the light. So yes, Councilmember Harrington, please.
I volunteered for the first time ever to be first. So just want to say thank you, Nick, for volunteering. We appreciate it when members of the public step up, and for your past service. We appreciate that. Thank you. I wanted to ask you, so far as on your experience on the commission, what's been the most challenging aspect for you personally?
The most challenging aspect? Not challenging as so much, but some of the projects I have noticed, they've been taking a long time in development, like decades and generations to build housing that, you know, desperately needed. But I haven't found the commission to be challenging. And it's been
So
very enjoyable.
follow up on that. In your opinion, is that like market-based, or is it something the city could improve, or is it just the developer slash designer, or
Large projects, I would say it's market-based.
market-based?
When I first started serving on the commission, I did notice that some of the small projects were being put through the ringer. I thought maybe a bit egregiously. But you know, we got them to a point where this, you know, it was acceptable to the city.
So when you say through the ringer, do you mean there's too many regulations or too much oversight on the design, or what do you mean?
Not too many regulations. I would say that, you know, they would come, and then we would give them our comments, and then they would respond to all the comments, and then there would be like a fresh set of comments to blindside them, and I'll be like, no, we shouldn't do that. We should try to be as comprehensive as possible the first time through, and that's gonna save months off the projects. Yeah.
Saves everybody time. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So Vice Mayor?
Hello.
Hello.
I also wanted to thank you for stepping up, because it is taking a lot of your personal time, so well appreciated. I wanted just to ask you, what in particular about the Design Review Commission do you like? Because we have other commissions, and so this one, I'm sorry, maybe let me backtrack. How long have you been serving on this commission?
This is my interview for my third
Third
term.
time, okay. So
it'll
you
be-
clearly enjoy it. There's some
Yeah.
value there. What in particular do you enjoy about it?
Oh, because you see the projects that are coming down the pipeline, so you kind of get a glimpse into what the future of the city's going to look like, and I think that's exciting.
Okay. And how do you, so you say you look at the projects, you know, there's a lot of design obviously involved. How do you separate, you know, your personal preferences to what the vision is of how we want our community or our development to look like?
You know, the projects that we've approved, there's a lot of variety, so I don't think personal preference kind of plays into it. You know, you kind of look at what the owner is hoping to achieve, and then kind of what the community expects.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And Councilmember Chan, please.
Hello, Nick. Thank you for your service so far. And thanks for applying again. So I just wanted to get a sense for what is your vision for the development of San Gabriel? I mean, personally, would you like to see more single-family homes or more ADUs or more mixed use or maybe a different different styles of housing and businesses, styles and feels in different parts of the city?
I think the city could probably benefit from mixed use and multifamily housing in a way that creates a buffer between the commercial area and the single-family homes. I've seen that work successfully in other communities. And I think in this community, you see a commercial business with a parking lot, a 6-foot fence, and a single-family residence right on the other side of it. I think it's a bit of a stark contrast.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Dean?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you, the Nikon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you to service the commissioner and reapply. So for the you already have a 2 term before, so you satisfy our current design, the direction.
Yeah.
Then it's. Do you think I have any for the future? You feel like I have a future better plan? Do you have any idea too?
I'm very happy with the work that the commission has done. Just in terms of what I would like to see, just human scale and walkable communities. People spend more time on foot instead of in their cars. Stuff like that, yeah.
And another question, I really don't know, the state have a lot of regulation for our city. So how can we design commissioner to, first of all, you think we should be, definitely we need to cooperate with the state, but for the locally, did you have think any things maybe stay the regulation, it's not really fit our city, the scenario.
I do understand that there seems to be waves of legislation coming from the state that's trying to override what local communities can do for themselves. You just got to take it on a case-by-case basis to see what makes sense. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't, And when it doesn't, I'm not sure what tools we have available we have to oppose it, but we should at least be vocal about it and bring it to light.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Dean. Nikon, thank you so much for reapplying this position. With our questions, I think I would like to ask you, besides the design review committee and commissions is there any other commissions that you will be willing to consider that to participate and just get something different?
Honestly, I don't have an interest in the other commissions. I'm not even sure what other commissions there are.
Awesome, no problem. I just want to check. And also, at the beginning, you mentioned about the time, that some projects takes forever, takes long. So can you don't have to specify that which one, but what is the time frame that you think is the longest one in our city?
I think there was one where we discussed it was over 2 decades. And I thought that was a long time.
Okay, so usually sometimes people will criticize our city saying, oh, it takes too long to do a plan checks, takes too long for review. Do you think there's any problem that happens in our cities or planning or even the commission?
I think that particular project, it was because they went through 2 economic down cycles. So I don't think it's related to city process or city resources or anything like that. In terms of the smaller projects that go through the city, I actually don't know before I see the projects how much time the applicants have been working through the process. I just know 1 or 2 projects where I think maybe adding a second story to their house, they should not have to come back to us 3 times to get that approved.
So usually it's not from us. This is they change the design, then bring it back to review again.
Yeah,
So that's usually that takes time and just delay the whole process.
that's correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. So is there any way that you think, I mean, since you have been serving two terms, and what can be improved to expedite those kind of problems? I mean, it's not, maybe not from our city, but I mean, when I hear that, I said, well, you guys, you should not look for the city to change the question if you answer that question is incorrect. So if they make the incorrect answer and they try to ask the city to revise the question, it's no possible. But I mean, in your time of serving, have you seen those kind of phenomena?
I think, a lot of the applicants, you have very different applicants. Some are very sophisticated and some are not. But if there could be like a standardized consistency to what's presented to us, that would help facilitate the process a bit. And I don't know if there's a way that staff could communicate that to the applicants through visuals or visual aids or something like that, but I think that would help because some applicants it really feels like they're just guessing at what we want to hear instead of saying, no, just tell us what you want your house to look like and we'll consider that, just be very open about it. But it does feel like sometimes they're just guessing what they think, we want to hear.
So they would like to define them, they would like to create their definitions, then assume that you will like it.
Yeah, because I don't think they're trying to get away with anything. They're just fearful to be transparent for no good reason, and it shouldn't be like that. They should just kind of be transparent.
Straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Any colleagues have any questions? If none, yes, go ahead. Councilmember Ding? No? Well, then thank you very much.
Okay.
So
Thank you
we're
very
done
much.
here. Yes, thank you. So next one, please.
Our next applicant is Janet Sanchez for the Design Review Commission. This is an applicant that we will have to call.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Janet.
Hi, yes, Janet. This is John Wu, the mayor of City of St. Gabriel, and we are actually we're doing an interview now. So thank you so much for willing to apply and to serve our community. And any colleagues would like to start?
What was that?
Vice Mayor?
Hello, Janet. This is Vice Mayor Denise Menchaca, so I'm going to start with the questions. First of all, I just wanted to thank you for stepping up and applying. My question to you is, what interests you about volunteering for the Design Review Commission?
It just interests me in a way of just being more involved and watching the city grow and change. I think that would be a great experience.
Have you watched any of the meetings, or have you, are you familiar what a Design Review Commission does? Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, let me do a follow-up since you're so quick in answering the question. Well, how would you define, or how would you envision your role on the Design Review Commission, since you have seen meetings? Well, how do you think you can contribute to the commission?
As far as the growth, the growth and just basing what everything that's developing and keeping it currently to what the city needs. I think that would be a really great experience for me to contribute, and just contributing to whatever is going to develop in the city, just because I think it would be really exciting to watch. And as it is now, I already see it changing, and based on the need of the people in the city.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Vice Mayor. And Councilmember Chen?
Hi,
Yes,
Janet,
of course.
thanks for applying. And I wanted to get a sense for, well, first of all, I see that according to your application and resume, your profession is
Yes.
related in
Correct.
architectural design, and so it's good to see that you'll bring some professional
Oh, I hope so.
experience with you to this. And I just wanted to ask you, so what is your vision for the development of San Gabriel? I mean, are you of the mind that we need more single-family homes or more ADUs or more mixed use? Or do you think there are certain different parts of the city that are better for different
Oh,
styles and
definitely. I
feels?
mean, I don't think that I don't think the entire city needs to focus on just one category. I would prefer for it to be a little more spread out as opposed to having one section just be known for affordable housing or mixed use. Obviously, having it like, for example, downtown, well, not downtown Depot, but Mission Street, how they're starting now to develop it, like with the new restaurant location they have there of Blossom. I mean, I think that's a really nice area where that got placed based on it being residential and apartments. So that was a really nice contribution there. But as far as the affordable housing and the ADUs, I mean, as needed and as where it can be allocated, I would prefer it not to turn into like downtown LA and just be more like family oriented and have it feel like a community.
Great, thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Councilmember Chen. Yes, Councilmember Ding?
Okay, Jeanette, thank you to apply
Of course.
the commissioner. Yeah, and so you say you already like have chance to watch the design commissioner the meeting. So did for the current design commissioner, the direction, do you like it or not like it? Or you also, if you like it, what do you like it? And if you dislike it, so you, what kind of vision for the current design commission?
I watched the design commission, I believe, a year ago, so I don't remember too well what was being proposed at that time. But I do like the idea of, that everyone contributes to it, and obviously coming to a common agreement. But I'm not opposed to learning or being a team player and learning people and just contributing to it. But obviously stating if I feel different about it.
Okay. So the question also, like, do you think we have the too many mixed use project, or you think it's okay based on current
I think as far as right now, I like how it's based right now. I hope it doesn't get too overcrowded. But as far as it currently, I think if it doesn't feel like there's too many.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ding and Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. And Jana, we really do appreciate it. This is Councilmember Harrington. We appreciate you applying. The fact that you are a designer, how will that affect your review of other people's designs as far as like what your personal preferences are?
I mean, I don't have a
versus,
personal preference. The way that I like to do my work is based on it fitting its surroundings. and what is being proposed. And it's not, I'm not a one box fits all. I like to go more with the aesthetics and if it matches its neighbors.
Got you. So if you came to the scenario where you thought it didn't fit with the neighbors, how would you
I mean,
approach
obviously
that?
there's options of maybe possibly adding a detail or adding some kind of making it look a little more organic, or having it just have maybe something that represents more of like the San Gabriel, which is more of like the mission style. If it gets too boxy or it just doesn't fit around the area, but obviously if it's like in a commercial area, it would be open to not, it would be, if it was in a commercial area, it'd probably have more options than having to fit the mission style. Sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington. So, Janet, I would like to know that besides Design Review Commissions, have you seen any other commissions?
No, I
meeting?
have not.
I see. So what makes you decide to apply for this position? I mean, the Design Review Commission, but not planning, not the like a community services?
I was just more interested in the design aspect of it for right now. As far as the planning, I mean, I am familiar with planning as well, but the design portion, it just seems to grab my attention more. So I was just a little more interested in that part.
I see. Okay, thank you. That's
Okay.
end of my questions. And any of colleagues would like to add more comments? Yes, Councilmember Chen.
I was just going to ask, if you don't get appointed to this commission, would you be interested in any of our other
Sure,
commissions?
I wouldn't be opposed to planning, but design would be my first pick. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
Okay.
I think that's it. Well, thank you very much for your time, Janet. We'll keep you posted. So clerk, let's go for the next one. I'm sorry, just want to know that if the first applicants arrived.
I'm still here.
Oh, you're okay.
Okay.
We're done here. Thank you very much.
We have not heard from the other candidate as of yet.
So before we move to the Planning Commission applicants interview, I think I would like to bring this to my colleagues, that shall we wait or shall we just give up? I mean, just disqualify the first applicant because she's late, and I think we tried to approach her, but there's no response. Gilmore, yes. Gilmore.
Okay, well, I'm okay just moving on to the next interview and just hopefully he shows up.
By the end of the whole council meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we'll just keep going with the other interview and give him a chance to show up. If he doesn't show up by the end, then there's nothing we can do about it. But that would be my preference.
As we are finishing the first interview, the first section for Design Review Commission.
I have a question, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Please.
So how are we doing the vote? Are we doing it all at the end, or are we doing it after every commission? I'm just trying to get clarification, because we just got one ballot for everybody.
Right, I think,
It's at the end? Oh, okay, then we
Yeah.
can wait, I guess, yeah.
okay. So we don't need motion for that. Okay, so next one, please.
Our next applicant is an applicant for the Planning Commission. It's with George Carney.
Good evening, everybody. Pardon me while I hobble in here.
George.
Good evening.
Good evening. So good to see you here. And thank you so much for your service, and thank you so much for taking a new applications to another committee here. So who would like to go first? Yes, Councilmember Chen, please.
George, good to see you.
Good to see you, Eric.
Thank you for all your service so far in the other commission, and thank you for applying for this. So I'm going to ask you, so the city is always looking for new ways to improve the overall quality of life. So what are some of the ideas that you have to foster community development and improve the overall quality for our residents?
I think to improve the overall quality would be to be sure you don't overdevelop. I think that would be the biggest thing. You know, development and change is inevitable, and it's good. And I think we've been so far on a very good course from what I see. And I would just say to guard against overdevelopment, overcrowding, remembering every time you do a development, you've got traffic problems that have to be addressed, transportation issues. That would be my thought. Just, I'm not a keep everything as it is type of guy, but I do think you need to proceed with a reasonable amount of caution.
Thank you.
So thank you, Councilmember Chen, and how about Councilmember Dean?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, George, thank you to service for our Civil Commission a long time. And I know you're also really interesting for the Planning Commission
Yes.
too, right? Okay, so you already answered the previous question that's most, but so for currently the existing project did you feel is already overwhelming or not?
No, not overwhelming, no. As someone who has lived in this community since I was 4 years old, and that's a long time ago, it's a very big change. San Gabriel is a very different town than the town I grew up in, but that's inevitable, and it's, for the most part, good. Things don't stay the same. So no, I don't feel overwhelmed.
Okay.
I think it could easily get overwhelming if it's not carefully watched and controlled. But no, at this point, I do not think so. I think what I've seen so far, or the major development has been, which is Valley Boulevard, now San Gabriel Boulevard, I don't think that's, I think those are good projects. I think they're very worthwhile.
Okay. And next question, it's if developer and the applicant submit a project that you find incompatible with the neighborhood, how would you go about assisting applicant to help improve the project?
If I felt that the project was inconsistent with what I would like to see in the neighborhood, and I saw that there was support from my fellow commissioners, I think reasonable people can work together and find compromises. I am a big believer in compromise solutions. I'm not an either-or type of guy. So I think that could be done. And I think from what I've heard with other developments, that's the way it's been done. There's, we want this and we want this, and so let's find a compromise. San Gabriel is going to grow, and there's no way to stop that. I think, as I told Eric, that it's a matter of moderating your growth to keep the community what it is. As I say, I've lived in this town for my entire life. It means a lot to me.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Dean. And Councilmember Harrington, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for coming, George. Appreciate it. I know you've been highly involved in the community for a long time, and we appreciate that, and your service to the city already. We appreciate that, so thank you. Ideally, the council will have the budget to do at least some specific plans, if not a whole new general plan, hopefully in the next few years. We've been trying that for a while now. I just wanted to get your, and as a planning commissioner, you would be obviously involved in a lot of long-range, long-term planning for the city. What type of planning experience do you have?
I have to say I do not. I do not have formal planning experience.
Yeah, it's not a requirement. It's just I like to gauge that, and it doesn't have to actually even be in city planning. I mean, just like in general, like because when we say a general plan, it is actually a general plan. We're not trying to have the commissioners write codes or anything. But have you been involved in any like long-term projects where you're projecting into the future?
The longest term project of that nature I was ever involved in was when I doubled the size of my house by myself.
That takes planning for sure.
That took some planning and it took some learning because my wife and I at the time, we couldn't afford a contractor. So my best friend and I said, well, how hard can it be? Well, we're still living there. That was in 1978 and we're still in the house. So I guess we knew how hard it would be. But seriously, to answer your question, no, I don't have any formal city planning experience. I think my perspective is as a longtime resident, my vision for the city where my kids grew up, where I grew up, what I would like to see it become. Parts of it, I'd like to see it stay a certain way. Other parts, I'd like to see change. So.
Yeah, and that really is what a general plan is. It's projecting the growth and the direction that the city's taking in the future. And I think just the experience of being in the city for a very long time brings a lot of, I'll call it institutional knowledge, like how the city has been, where it's going. And I know I don't quite feel like you've answered, but what kind of skills do you think you bring to that type of decision making?
I think the skills that I bring are an analytical mind.
Okay.
I was a math teacher for a long time.
Gotcha.
But I think an ability to get along with people, I would hope so. An ability to deal with people and to compromise when compromise is necessary, to know when not to compromise, when that's the better way to do it. I think people skills, I guess, would probably be close to what I would say would be my prime aspect. And as I say again, my longtime residence in the city and knowing as many of the residents as I do.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington. And Vice Mayor Menchaca, please.
Thank you, George, for stepping up. You're on the Civil Service Commission.
Yes.
And there is an understanding you can only serve on one commission. So if you would be selected, would you resign from your civil service duties, or, because you can't serve on two?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, if I were appointed to planning, I would resign the one, although the Civil Service Commission, as you know, is a little unique among all the commissions because we don't meet. My 3 terms, we've never met. So.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
we did meet once for lunch. I will say
Okay,
that.
so,
Never officially. But I would resign my
okay,
position.
okay, I just want to make sure that's clear. You can't serve on 2 commissions. So my question is, George, and I do have some insight because we've known each other for a long time. I do recall when I was on the school board and we were trying to pass the bond.
Right.
Took us 4 times to pass that bond.
I do remember.
And I remember you were very involved in the planning and, the vision, as you were a teacher at the time and a coach for mock trial. And so I believe you have some planning experience from a school board perspective. How do you see your background, retired teacher? I believe you were in the police too, weren't you a reserve force thing?
Long time
Long ago, okay.
Long time ago.
But I know you're a very strong law enforcement
proud to
supporter.
say
I
that,
think you
yes.
go to all the, it's not called 411, that talk of the town.
I do.
So I remember that. But with your school board background, being an educator, and being so involved in the community, how do you think that would change, or how would that impact your vision for long range? Because I know you're very sensitive to families being here. How does that experience come into play as an educator?
I think it would be a very valuable experience. Talking about the school bonds, which it did take us 4 times to pass, as you remember, you get involved with the families and you learn what's important to families. And I think that experience, what we had to go through to get that done, what we had to go through to get Gabriel High School approved and built, that in itself, I mean, you could write a book about that. So that kind of a project or undertaking or being part of that kind of a project, I think would be a very valuable thing to me in the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. I forgot about that, Gabrielino, too. Okay, thank you, George.
Well, thank you, Vice Mayor. So George, well, thank you so much. I mean, I can hear the passion of serving our community, from your eyes. But I was just about to ask you if you have any complaints about the civil service, but now I realized it's the only complaint is you never meet other colleagues.
And that's not a complaint, but it is a fact. And yeah, 3 terms, and as I say, we met once for lunch 2 years ago. That was it.
It's a nice things. I mean, but what kind of role do you think that Planning Commission plays in helping improve our economy?
I think it has a tremendous role in it. Simply on the basis, the projects it approves or disapproves are pretty much fundamental, I think, to the city's economy. Every one of these projects I see going up are going to have a major impact on the city. I think, for the most part, for the better. I drove by San Gabriel Boulevard today, we're south of the old nursery, and I see that's finally starting to rise. I can hardly wait. I mean, I think that's a good thing, and I think that's going to be a good thing for the city. That's a lot of business there. That's a lot of tax revenue. That's new people hopefully being drawn into our community. I think it's going to be a very positive thing. And I see that controlled, well-planned development is the key. City's got to grow, or not grow. I mean, I don't want to see us be 100,000 people, but we can't just stand still. So that's kind of how I see it.
So when the land is very limited, then the buildings will get higher and higher. So I think the reason that we have more mixed use than before, but from your perspective, you just mentioned about your vision, and you would like to keep somewhere in balance. That is about how to preserve the original color of St. Gabriel and
Yes.
also to get modernized of the city. So what's your vision to this?
I think one of the things that's going to have to be dealt with is the change in residential neighborhoods, the density idea, the idea now that ADUs are permitted everywhere. I think that's going to have to be watched carefully, because I think what makes San Gabriel so unique and so desirable still is its residential neighborhoods. They're going to change, there's no question, and they're going to get denser. I think controlling the degree to which they get more dense is going to be a major part of what we have to do. And I think, to me, that's very key in keeping the city the way it is, to keep our residential areas primarily residential. And the development, well, where it's already going on, and I'm sure there's some other areas where it will happen.
Great. Well, thank you very much, George, for your time. Is there any other colleagues would like to add more comments and questions? No? So we're all set, but thank you so much,
Thank you
George.
all. All right. Please, you give me just a second to kind of,
Please, yes.
and I believe we can just hang out until we're done.
Mr. Mayor? I just was informed that Mr. Lopez is stuck in traffic. May he call in, and what number would he call to do that?
I think we are capable to do it.
Oh, okay.
We would have to make that call.
So now let's bring it back to the Design Review Commission, right? Interview.
Or unless you,
Because
still
now
wanna
she
wait
wants to
for-
call in.
however you want to do it. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Wow.
Okay.
You're very accessible that the applicant just text you and say, I'm in the traffic. So how about that? I mean, that's wait, but we still keep the options that we are able to interview her over the phone. I'm sorry, yeah. So let's go with the next.
Thank you.
Our next interview is with Matthew Kratman, applicant for the Planning Commission.
Hi, Mr. Kreppen. So good to see you. Thank you so much for your service to our community.
Happy to be here.
So who would like to start?
Hey, Martin.
About Tony, yes. Councilmember Ding, would you like to start?
Hi, Mr. Crappen. Thank you to serve our planning commission.
you.
Before, yeah, and thank you. Continue to apply. Okay. So my question is for current to the planning. So you everything you feel it's our city. It's really fit our city the right direction.
I do. Planning-wise, I mean, there's a lot of housing projects that are getting improved, and you know, I noticed the nursery is, you know, getting above grade. They got their podium deck and their subterranean parking done. That's great. So that's a real milestone, and hopefully that continues along the corridor there. That we've approved a number of projects there. So I think that's a real boon to the city. So.
Do you think that we have another you have another some more like a variety the vision for the future planning?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any the idea?
Well, obviously the city needs to provide a lot more housing, and that housing is being approved, planned and approved. There's large parcels going up along major corridors. And I think that's a great thing for the city to proceed with. And we've approved 3 or 4 of those projects in the last year, plus there's some already underway. So I think that's going to be a great thing for the city.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're making progress.
Okay.
Yeah. The one thing is, right, we're under rising interest rates and stuff like that, so anything we can do to facilitate those projects would be good, because right, the carrying costs can be difficult to bear. So I think as a planning commission, we got to keep that in mind. So
Thank you. Thank you. Rest the question let out my rest the council member to asking. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ding. So, oh yes, Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Matt, for applying. We appreciate your service that you've already given, and appreciate you applying again. So, in your experience so far on commission, what would you say would be probably the most difficult situation you've dealt with? Like, give an example of what you would see as like a hard decision or something along those lines.
well, I think there's some tension in you know, providing low-income housing and having low-income housing requirements versus incentives. So I think it's great to have incentives because incentives are what motivate people. But to have requirements, I think can stifle development that otherwise might occur. So. It's better to have, you know, most of your pie instead of having no pie at all. So, and I just think that that's one of the issues that's been kind of dealt with in the last, my 2 years.
Got it.
And I think the city has steered a good course there, where they've provided incentives to provide low-income housing.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Harrington. And the Vice Mayor Menchaca.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for stepping up and coming back. And still interested. Based on your experience so far, how can we as a city be better? You know, what can we help the planning commissioners with so you can make better decisions, or you know, is there any guidance that you can provide, any kind of feedback that we could do better in?
I think the staff does a great job of providing information to the Planning Commission. They're very, very thorough about that, and they're very forward-looking about potential issues down the road. So there was, for instance, there was a code that came up where we had to bring everything to code, in a year. And the advice was we should remove that code because it would be just too disruptive to the city overall. But that was anticipated, that they looked ahead and saw that. It didn't sneak up on them or anything. So I think the staff's been really great about that. I do, just getting back to the development side, is that anything that we can do to facilitate the approval process would be great, because that translates into carrying costs for the developer. And those carrying costs go to a bank, right? They don't go to the city of San Gabriel. The city of San Gabriel, should have a nicer building. If that money went into a nicer building, right, then the city of San Gabriel would, achieve, a win. But anything that would help to facilitate that, I think, would be good. So.
And during the planning commission meetings, are commissioners comfortable giving back that kind of feedback during deliberations, or is that's not really?
That particular issue doesn't come up. So usually the planning commission, there's a specific project that is reviewed with specific details. So the general overall look is not generally discussed. And as a person who's been through the planning and approval process with the city myself a few times, there are some code things that I think should be updated or corrected or stricken. Those kinds of opportunities or discussions have not come up on the planning commission, other than that one.
Okay.
Which was a clear case of, this is not pragmatic.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And Councilmember Chen, please.
All right, Matt, thanks for your service so far and being willing to step up again. I wanted to ask you that the city's always looking for new ways to improve overall quality of life. So what are some ideas that you have to foster community development and improve the overall quality for the residents?
I think actually the city does a really good job in that regard. We have dumpling festivals and other events in the city. I do think the theater is underutilized. If we had like a real vibrant impresario there that could get some great bands in there, that would be awesome. That kind of thing. I think there's more that could be done, but I think the city of San Gabriel does a really good job compared to other cities as a general rule.
Great. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Chen. And my question is, you just mentioned about we can facilitate the process to approve the permits, and that will be pretty helpful for the developer, because the longer they wait, the more money they spend. So what is the thing that city or as a commissioners that you think can be improved to make the process even faster?
In most cases, being on the other side, it is response times, right? So when the drawings go in or whatever, if they can come back faster with any kind of corrections or things like that. There's also just a lot of requirements that seem to be there in the code that maybe shouldn't be there. So like, for instance, there's one that came up with a video game arcade. You have to get a new CUP every 2 years. It takes 2 years to get a CUP. So, I mean, you'd be on a constant cycle of having to get a new CUP. So I think streamlining the code would free up the planning department to be more efficient in turning that stuff around, instead of getting hung up on, fire sprinklers in a residential building. Like, so for instance, one of the code items is, if you remodel 25% of your house, you have to fire sprinkle the whole house. Well, if you have, a kitchen and a dining room next to each other with a wall in the middle. You remove that wall, that's suddenly 25% of your house. Now, because you're going with an open concept plan, you have to fire sprinkle the whole house, even though the house is not more in fire danger or anything like that. So these are little things that are in the code that could be removed, and I think it would help facilitate improvements, both private and public, for the city.
Thank you, and maybe I should address this question to Aldo, our Economic Development Director. Those regulations, is that from California, the state of California? So every year they have like new building codes, so that triggered like if anyone would like to expend 25% or more spaces as original, it will trigger them to install the new fire sprinkler.
Yeah, and that specific code is a California building code with respect to the fire codes. And every 3 years, we go through a process of updating those codes pursuant to state law. This one specifically is a local amendment to the fire code. Is not in the fire code adopted by the state. The city went through its process of allowing that as a local ordinance or a local amendment specifically for San Gabriel. But the council, when that adoption process is before the council, can make a decision to either adopt that local ordinance or look at another alternative.
I see. Well, thank you. This is so good. I have my Google next to me.
Oh, yes, Aldo's very versed in this because I've discussed it with him a couple of times.
This is awesome.
So,
Thank
yeah.
you so much.
Oh.
I think that's all the question I have. Anyone would like to make further comments to our applicants? If not, well, but then thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you for your service. I appreciate it. You guys do good work. Thank you.
Our next interview is with Sean McMorris, applicant for the Planning Commission.
Hey, good evening, Sean.
Oh, good morning, Mayor, City Council.
Thank you. I like your new look.
What's that?
I like your new look.
Oh, thank you, the beard, yeah.
Very
You got the gray
stylish.
going here, yeah.
And thank you so much for your service to our community.
Thank
So
you.
let's go straight. And who would like to start? Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sean, for your past service as well as stepping up to serve again. We appreciate that. I wanted to know, so far in your experience on the commission, if you could let us know or describe or just tell us a scenario where you thought it was a very difficult decision or something that maybe concerned you about a particular project or maybe just projects in general.
Yeah, I would say in general, I'm a strong advocate of affordable housing, so I will often advocate for that in projects, and often it won't happen. So, but one in particular where I made some compromise was on the actual, when we were preparing an ordinance to come to the council on an affordable housing ordinance. I had strongly believed we needed to do some higher percentage than what other council members wanted. But through discussion and talks, I think we had a pretty long meeting. Ultimately, I agreed with them. I said, we have to get something done, and in the name of compromise, I think we should do more, but I'm glad that we're doing something. And so we put that together, and we were able to get that up to the council. So that was a particular instance, but I think I really appreciated the candor and the experience and the discussion that not just our commissioners had, but also the city attorney and our staff were able to answer a lot of questions. So yeah, that was one instance, but the dynamics, I think, ultimately worked out pretty good. So,
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, please.
Sean, well, thank you again for your interest in returning as a planning commissioner. My question to you is, since you have, was it 2 years under?
yes.
Yep, 2 years. how can the city staff improve either the process or as your role as a commissioner? Is there something more that can be done to help commissioners reach a decision?
You know, I think there's always more that can be done. For one, and this has nothing to do with city law, it's state law. They're only mandated to get the agendas, 72 hours before. So sometimes the agendas are very short and easy to get through, but sometimes you have 3 or 4 projects which will, necessitate much more research and kind of, so sometimes I'll spend but I will say this, every time I've emailed staff with a question, they have been very good about getting back to me with an answer in a timely manner, so even on the weekends. So, but in terms of one thing I think could be beneficial is if we get notified about things that are in the pipeline that will potentially come before us in a month or two, so that it's not just when we get the agenda that we're finding out about a particular project or a particular business that might be controversial or something, so we can prepare a little bit more. But I think on the whole, I mean, I have to say the staff does a very good job of, engaging us and answering our questions, so I don't really have any complaints there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So Councilmember Dean?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sean, to serve the 2 years already, right? Okay.
2 years, yes, been a
Okay.
privilege. Thank you.
So, what's your experience for the current these 2 years?
Yeah, well, I do see progress being made. I see new housing developments come in that are needed. I see some are starting to actually be built, which is always good. I wish that process would go quicker. Now that the pandemic is over, I'm hoping some of the financial constraints that hamstrung the developers will start to dissipate, so that they can start actually breaking ground on some of the large housing projects that we've approved. And I'm also excited to see that we've had some affordable housing projects come in. One person used the density bonus, so I thought that was very good. Hoping to see more of that. We have had our first tattoo parlor come in, and I didn't know we didn't have one. We've had a new Korean restaurant come in, and multiple karaoke places, and I know that's a draw here. But on the whole, I think that I really like the dynamics of the commission. I'm saddened to see Commissioner Clowitter retire. He's got a lot of experience, and I've benefited from that, as well as Jerry's experience. But I feel like it's a fairly good dynamic, and we work well together. So I think things on the whole have gone pretty good. That doesn't mean we haven't had disagreements, but I think they've been civil, so that's good.
Okay, thank you, because you already answered the rest of the question I want to ask you. Okay, thank you, appreciate. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Dean. And Councilmember Chen, please.
Hi, Sean.
Hello.
Good to see you. Thank you for all your service to the city so
Thank you,
far.
you too.
And for stepping up to apply again. I'm going to ask you, what do you see as the greatest planning challenge in a city like San Gabriel?
Well, I think there's multiple, but one is the finding the land. Now, a lot of the land is occupied and used up. Financing, because of the pandemic, was very difficult, put a lot of things on hold. I'm hoping that will dissipate now. But I think zoning is a big part of it, to be able to zone even land that's occupied in a way that will allow for more housing to be built, given that every city in California has a mandate to build quite a lot of housing. So I think that that's always going to be an issue, getting enough housing, and in particular, I think getting enough affordable housing, which is always difficult, not just for San Gabriel, but basically every city in the state. So I do hope at some point we'll revisit an affordable housing ordinance and try it. But I think the primary challenge right now is getting the land and getting the investors interested and having them finance and break ground.
Great, thank you.
Bless you. Well, thank you, Sean. I know that you're very focused on the affordable housing, and you just mentioned about that there will be a lot of houses to be built, and we have a RENA number as well. We have to build like a 3,027 some houses down the road. But and you also mentioned that the key points is zoning issues, and we have very limited lands right now. So the land has to be used more efficiently, so that has to go higher and higher. So from your perspective, I mean, what is the best solution or the balance for our city that to accommodate that many houses, but also it's not overwhelming development?
Well, I think it's multi-pronged. There has to be give and take from both the city and the developers, you know. So I think on the city side, we have to be malleable, I guess, in certain zoning criteria. We have to, I think, I know that most cities, or most small cities, they don't want to build up. But when you don't have enough land to build out, you have to start building up. And one way you can induce affordable housing is to allow those developers to build higher than what they typically would in order to compensate them for the affordable housing that you will ask them to provide. So I think on certain corridors, I'm not talking about the need to build high rises and, you know, all of our single-family neighborhoods, but I think like there's certain areas on Valley and San Gabriel, possibly, you know, that you can start building up higher so that you increase capacity just for, you know, market and above market rate housing, but also within that process, getting some affordable housing as well. So I think if it's planned appropriately, you know, the residents, I think, will be happy as well, because a lot of those higher buildings can be on high-traffic corridors where they're probably also much closer to public transportation for folks who want to live in those apartments or condos. So potentially, that's an option.
Well, thank you very much, Sean. So any colleagues would like to add more comments or any question? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Sean.
All right. Thank you for your service, everyone.
Thank you. So clerk, is Mr. Lopez is here for the Design Review Commission?
Yes, I believe he's arrived.
So should we invite him in right now? I mean, because we have just finished the planning, right?
We have
One more? Oh, I'm so sorry. We have one more. Let's finish the last one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our last applicant for the Planning Commission is Cassandra Sanchez.
Hi, good evening, Cassandra.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for applying the position, the commissioners. Any colleagues would like to start? Yes. Okay, so Councilmember
I mean,
Chen?
don't all jump. Just kidding. It's been a long evening, I'm sure. Yeah.
Ms. Sanchez, thank you for applying, and good to see you. I see from your resume that your profession is very related to planning and real estate, so that should help you in the task for this kind of thing. Let Let me ask you, what do you see as the greatest planning challenge in a city like San Gabriel?
Well, first, I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you, Mayor Wu, and thank you, council members, for this opportunity, and thank you for your service. Councilmember Chen, from a perspective of what is the biggest challenge within the planning?
Yeah.
To your point, and based on my industry knowledge and precedent that I'm seeing throughout Southern California, the general plan is a general plan. In most cases, it holds up quite well. But in this point, what I'm seeing from a professional perspective, whether it be multifamily or the various zones, is an innovation to development. So with that said, the complications will be, does a city like San Gabriel support, you know, various state mandates? Or does our general geographic footprint support our economic lens, which we would obviously, taxpayer dollars, that would better support our city services?
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chen and Councilmember Dean.
Thank you, Mayor. Cassandra, thank you to apply to the Planning Commission to serve our community. And our city is always looking for the new way to improve the overall quality of life. What are some idea you have foster community development and improve the overall quality of life?
Thank you for that question. I appreciate that as a resident, obviously. I do believe the city is doing it to some extent. I reside in the village, and a clear understanding, obviously, as residents, we want to retain that safety and the community feel of the village. But if you go, you know, a couple blocks down, you can see the major developments of the hotel, of the various hotels. So that is something that I appreciate that's happening within the city. And I think with that precedent, obviously there's going to be various factors depending on the sites. Like there's a lot of development happening in San Gabriel Boulevard. Those are some considerations. I'm not privy to a full holistic view because I'm not currently on the Planning Commission, but those are some of the things that I like, what I'm seeing out there, if that best answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Dean and Councilmember Chen. I'm sorry. Yes, sir. You're done. Okay, and what about Vice Mayor?
Great. Hello. I also wanted to thank you for applying, and I want to thank you for being so honest, because I'm going to go through your application. There was two things that, for me, are serious concerns of a conflict of interest. I've already spoken to our attorney. Legally, it's not, but I think public perception. The first thing you mentioned was that your brother works for the city, and that isn't a great concern for me, but what I got concerned with was that your brother actually works for the Economic Development Department, and he is the secretary for several commissions and when needed for the Planning Commission. So I'll allow you to, of course, to respond. I just feel, you know, having your brother, sibling, I don't know if you live together, but, you know, you would be privy to probably a little more special treatment, information that the other planning commissioners would not have access to. How would you respond to that?
I appreciate that question, and, you know, obviously it's at the determination of the council. It's my understanding that he does not support the Planning Commission, so.
When needed, he is the secretary for the other commissions, like 2 or 3, but he has served on as a secretary for the Planning Commission.
I understand, yeah. Again, it was my understanding that, but when needed, if that's the case, obviously we're at the mercy of the council. I mean, I know myself personally, and he holds himself with a high level of integrity, but I understand your question.
Okay, thank you. And then the other part that you were very honest about, and I'm really grateful you were, you said specifically that your work is serving clients, well, let's see, I better just read it exactly the way you said. You represent clients at numerous planning commission hearings throughout Los Angeles County. A lot of those clients might be here, and so I believe there could be a potential or there could be an actual conflict of interest and possibly a financial benefit of some sort if you're working with developers and contractors that are not only in LA County but here in San Gabriel. So I know that you could recuse yourself. I mean, that's always obviously an option, but you know, we wouldn't know who your clients are or if your clients are up there, you know, asking for some kind of decision from the Planning Commission. How would you respond to that?
And again, I understand that question. Frankly, based on my credibility and within the community as well as from a professional perspective, we have never done any business in the city of San Gabriel. Not that it's not large, but our projects are a little more on the larger scale and on the Los Angeles end. But I understand your question. An option is to recuse myself, but if I ever felt that it would impede on my position to be a commissioner, I would have never put my name in the ring.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, would you be interested in another commission? We have, for example, civil service might be a possibility, but there are other commissions. Is that something you would consider, or planning is it? You know, this is where you want to be.
I feel as though I'm best suited in this based on my professional expertise. It's not to say no, but like civil service that you mentioned, I think as a resident and as a constituent, I would rather have someone with those areas of expertise support those commissions.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Vice Mayor and Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Cassandra, for applying. We really appreciate your stepping up to serve. So ideally, the city will be doing general planning within the next few years. So it would probably happen if we appoint you, it would be while you're on the Planning Commission. We want to, I mean, our general plan is pretty old. It's actually quite outdated. And that goes as well as for several of our specific plans. They're more than decades old. So what's been your experience in those types of like planning or creating plans, like a general plan or a specific plan? What's your involvement been in the past?
On a professional level, I essentially go and represent my clients within those plans. As a commissioner, from the perspective lens of, you know, best serving the citizens of this community, as well as an economic development perspective, be there to support the staff. I mean, I think the staff does primarily a lot of the heavy lifting, and any third-party contractors or whomever they tap into on that. But absolutely, I can provide precedent and what best practices that are working in other cities. Again, most of our business is handled throughout Los Angeles County, and the West Side. But small cities is not that. San Gabriel is a small city, but a grand city, in my opinion. And so there's some precedent that mirrors other cities.
So as a follow-up, with your experience, say like in City of LA or other cities, obviously San Gabriel has unique characteristics that are the same in a lot of aspects, but different because of our size and location and just different things. What would you see as like a difference in what you would do in a planning document from LA to a city like San Gabriel?
Well, there's opportunities for entitlement. So for example, a very clear understanding, and I think most citizens took part in this, is during the pandemic. The al fresco plan was streamlined through under Garcetti and Bass, and it continues to be. So it's a way to ensure that, you know, the businesses within the city stayed open and retained opportunity for business, but yet, within a global pandemic, still abided within the health codes and ensured that there was opportunity to eat outside and quickly adapt. So that's an example.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington. So Cassandra, I saw your, you explained that why you're interested in serving the commission, and you mentioned about the social responsibility, and also you believe you can bring in the value to the commission. So based on your professionalism and your affiliation with those LA County and the ELAC board, so what is your envision to, your role on the planning commission?
I can be quite honest. I could have come in with references from Assemblymember Fong, Senator Rubio, Judy Chu, Congresswoman Judy Chu. I'm a resident of the city. I am I'm socially responsible in the sense where a lot of my time was geared towards Los Angeles, and because I wholeheartedly have a kinship to the city, this is why I threw my name in the hat for commissioner.
So what kind of role that you think the planning commissioner that you can play in improving our city?
Good question. I mean, we all want to improve the city, right?
Of course.
So it's an interesting time because there is, plainly said, there are mandates that the state is requiring. But it's also convoluted because does the city even have the geographic footprint for those mandates? So it really would be, how can I best support and recommend with my colleagues on the commission to make recommendations for you all? I mean,
How you feel about the directions so far in the city? Do you think that now our building, our development, everything is in the right track, or you have some more ideas?
I mean, is it ever in the right track? I wouldn't have estrogen if I always said it was on the right track. So I do believe that there's always, I come from a lens of, I wholeheartedly want to ensure that our city stays strong with an economic development perspective. But there is also a human element that we have to look at. So as long as there is a diligence and a true compassion to meet in the middle and find a balance, that's really all we can do, right?
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Cassandra. So any of my colleagues have more comments or question? I see none. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So clerk, let's move for Mr. Lopez. Thank you. Hi, good evening, Mr. Lopez.
Good evening, thank you.
Thank you so much for applying for the commissioners. And my colleague and I will have some questions. So who would like to start? Oh, yes, Vice Mayor?
I guess it's my turn. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for reapplying. I think you served 2 years? Is that
2 years, yes.
2 years,
and the
okay.
previous 2 years.
So now, why are you interested in volunteering specifically for the Design Review Commission? Is there something that really draws you to it?
Well, it's part of being engaged with the community. Oftentimes, whether you go to the park, walking down the street, or at shopping malls, you hear comments of people saying, oh, well, I wish they would have done this, or they would have done that, or I think it lost appeal, or it looks really great. Given that, I think it's appropriate for me to engage in that sense with the community as to the aesthetics and how things will look, so that we can all have a nice view of whether you're walking down the street or at a park or just walking down your own neighborhood.
Let me just follow up real quick. Is there any specific skill sets that you have that draw you to design review?
Well, the skill set I have doesn't necessarily draw me. I have an MBA. I've been a CFO and controller for many, many years. And part of that has been also build-outs and things like that, and my involvement financially primarily, yes. So what is feasible, what is not feasible as far as materials, the colors, and the looks, and things of that sort. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So who is next? Yes, Councilmember Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor. Guillermo, thank you for applying, and thank you for your past service. We appreciate you stepping up again.
Thank you.
In your experience on the commission, can you give us an example of maybe a difficult decision you've had to make, or something where you're put in a spot where you actually were affecting the project, or you had to make a decision?
Off mind comes, for example, some build out in the back of the golf club. They were trying to make to kind of refurbish part of where they keep their materials and things of that sort. And I remember the first time they were here, they some of the neighbors had concerns about how it would look, the visibility, and the gate and things like that. And we asked the project entrepreneurs to kind of come back with us with somehow how they would mitigate and kind of blend in and appease, not necessarily appease, but address the concerns some of the neighbors had as far as the aesthetics and how it would look, and traffic as well, and things like that. And they were very accommodating. My challenge to them was that they were part of our community, and they certainly stand out with a lion's share type of visibility in our community, and it would behoove them to really engage our community and address those concerns, and they did, and I was very happy about that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And Councilmember Chen, please.
Guillermo, thank you for your service so far, and
Thank you, sir.
thank you for reapplying. I'm going to ask you, what is your vision for the development of San Gabriel? Would you like to, for example, would you like to see more single-family homes, or more ADUs, or more mixed use, or maybe you think that different styles and a different feel for different areas of the city?
Well, my vision is obviously we cannot remain in a certain style as things progress and technologies also, and as far as materials also become available. One of the things we have touched upon in my 2 years in the commission was solar panels up in the roofs, and how to mitigate the visibility of those panels, and how they would blend in with the architecture proposed. And I think there is a really strong push by everyone involved into creating more living spaces, creating that's not only just a family dwelling, but also enjoyable public spaces that are amenable to viewing as you're walking down the street or you're driving down, whatever case it would be. So I like a lot of the projects that have come. Most of them have been mixed use, and they've been 2 or 3 stories. And I like, and I think it's part of the future, and also the ADU situation. And I know there's a lot of concern from neighbors as far as somebody having an ADU, as far as parking and structure and things of that sort. But so we have a reality here in California, and nationwide to a certain extent. And I think the mission I view is that let's try and reach some sort of consensus and compromise and as far as development and moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chen and Councilmember Dean.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Lopez, thank you to the service for our planning commission and the reapply.
Thank you.
So, so I think you have passion to continue to serve. So tell us, so why you want to reapply? What do you want to stay with the commissioner or the long vision? So what do you want to do?
Well, no, I guess part of the extension to answer to Councilmember Mr. Chan, I want to be able to contribute to my community, and from what my vision and conversations with the community at large, I somewhat represent when I'm sitting at the commissioner's post, somewhat in a non-scientific way, kind of represent different views that have been conveyed to me and from conversations. So I'd like to continue on that path.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Dean. Yes, Mr. Lopez, thank you so much again for your service.
Thank you.
I wonder that 2 years ago when you applied for this position and you got appointed, that time you probably have already set up some goals. And 2 years later, today, have you seen that you have something that you feel so admire, very inspiring, that you have accomplished?
Well, I think it's an ongoing basis, given that we don't, or at least we didn't begin with a certain specific vision, or we didn't, meet and say, okay, we're gonna make these our priorities or something, but rather the overall plan for the city. So we try to accommodate the developer's vision of what they envision as to how we interpret the city's vision and the citizenry at large, their vision, and we try to reach a consensus and compromise as to whether the project really meets that need or not.
So what is the biggest challenge related to the development that you have seen?
I think the biggest challenge is how to not necessarily do a continuum of the old St. Gabriel mission style, but how to blend that into the modern day type of buildings and if you want to put it, architectural designs.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Does any of my colleagues has any more comments and questions? No? Well, thank you very much, Mr. Lopez.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very
the
much for your
opportunity.
time. Okay. So our attorney now has a brief comments before council discussion.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I think the comment was the same as the answer I provided to Vice Mayor in the beginning of the meeting, and that dealt with serving on two committees at the same time. And as we've discussed before, I think everybody is aware of the fact that the council desires for each person to only serve on one committee.
Okay. Commission.
Commission, thank you.
Thank you. So it's now time for us, for council discussion. Who would like to start? Vice Mayor?
Well, I'm ready to vote, but I don't have any comments, really.
Any other discussion? Councilman-
Let me, I guess I'll ask the technical question. If Mr. Carney gets appointed to the commission that he is running for, then what is the procedure with the community services or the civil service? Sorry. Yeah.
Can I have,
It'll be an automatic resignation, basically, if he gets appointed.
Okay.
And he was aware of that when we spoke to him.
But in terms of his open spot, then what is procedure on that?
So how about Aldo?
Yes, Mayor, upon the resignation and vacancy of the position, we would have to fly the position or look towards appointing the position by advertising for the vacancy and going through a very similar process as tonight.
So nothing will happen tonight, is what you're saying?
Correct.
There will be a full procedure where we advertise the open position, and so it'll just be, until then, it will just be an open seat.
Yeah, and of course, alternatively, we can select, or the council may select and appoint another member from tonight's interview process to that position if that member agrees to that.
So any candidate who would not be appointed tonight, that can be the potential candidate that to fill out the seats.
That's correct.
Awesome. So Clerk, anything
Thank you.
you would like to add?
But they also need interesting too, right?
Of course.
Yeah, that's all it was. As long as they're interested in serving on the commission, if you decide to appoint them, then we can do that tonight. Otherwise, we'd have to fly the position.
Okay, so that will be after our votes, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so anyone else would like to discuss? If not, then let's move to vote. Now, we don't need a motion for that. We just vote on a piece of paper.
So it also includes the ones that we didn't interview for, right?
That's correct. The ballots in front of you will include all of the applicants that applied for each commission. And on the ballot, it states how many to select for each one.
Mayor?
Vice Mayor?
I was just going to say, once we submit this, can we take a health break? While they're tallying?
Okay, so that's past this one. Thank you. Okay, then we will. What? Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, now we recess and we come back at 7:20. Okay, meeting resumed. We have votes, so you just say anything, right?
Mayor, we are ready to announce the votes.
Oh, yes, please announce.
We have a, sorry, Mayor. So we have a unanimous vote for Civil Service Commission to appoint James Brandon, Mark Garcia, and Deborah Saito to the Civil Service Commission. Next, we also have a unanimous vote to appoint Darren Rodriguez and Justin Lotz to the Community Service Commission. So next, we have 3 votes for Guillermo Lopez, 5 votes for Nicorin Salo, and 2 votes for Janet Sanchez for the Design Review Commission. The 2 commissioners appointed are Guillermo Lopez and Nicorin Salo. Next, we have a unanimous vote for to appoint Senya Lubisic and Beatriz Maharo to the Historic Preservation and Cultural Resource Commission. Next, we have 5 votes for George Carney, 5 votes for Matthew Kratman, 3 votes for Sean McMorris, and 2 votes for Cassandra Sanchez. And the 3 positions nominated for the Planning Commission are George Carney, Matthew Kratman, and Sean McMorris.
Well, thank you very much for all the applicants.
Yes, that's it.
Mayor, we have 2 applicants that were not appointed to either commissions. We have Janet Sanchez, who applied for the Design Review Commission, and we also have Cassandra Sanchez, who applied for the Planning Commission.
Yes. So now I would like to bring it to my my colleagues that shall we maybe just ask for their comments if they would like to be the candidate to fill in those commission. That we still have 1 more seat vacant for the community service, civil service.
Civil service.
Yes. So what are the procedures? Should I ask them or?
The other candidate is ill, but she called in.
Yes, and if you'd like, we can call her back if you choose.
So maybe how about let's interview the one that's still in, here in person, Cassandra. Hi, Cassandra. Would you like to just come up here? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. So.
Just to be clear, I think there would be since your brother is an employee of the city, you serving on the Civil Service Commission would be an incompatible position.
Thank you so much for applying. And yes, please call.
Civil commission, they have to live in the city or not? The commission. Unincorporated. I find out. Yeah, I just find out that she's living the unincorporated. Yeah.
Incorporated.
I believe you have to be a resident to live in this, or to apply for the Civil Service Commission. Mayor, would you like us to go ahead and publish a recruitment for the Civil Service Commission vacancy?
Yes, yes, please.
And I'm sorry, can you please make it really, because we're all learning here too, what the requirements are, just to make it clear that you can have somebody working, or is it a sibling or is it just any family? I don't know the rules, so.
It's the second level relative. Basically, spouse, children, siblings, and parents, right? Right, yeah. That's correct? Edward? Niece and nephew are also come in the second level? Okay, second degree would be niece and nephews as well.
Even include a niece, nephew.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing pro
Then the applicant must be,
In the
go ahead.
yeah. The council will take formal action on a resolution of appointment at our next meeting for these, then
This is the appointment.
this is the appointment. Okay. The vote was public, so we're fine, all right.
So there's no vote for this, right? Okay, so that's moved, move to adjourn. The next regular city council meeting will be held on Tuesday, April 16, 2024 at 6:30 PM. Meeting adjourned.